Crossing live to Parliament House in Canberra now to hear from Barnaby Joyce.
Basically puts us in a better position, a vastly better position than where we formerly were. In any trade agreement, you're not going to get everything you want. You're going to get a vastly better position than where otherwise you would have been in. Now we obviously have made huge improvements, especially in dairy. One of the big issues that so many people brought up to us is they wanted a position that gave us equivalence to where New Zealand was. For my own part, when I was in China in discussions with Minister Han, I said, look, we are good friends of China, and I hope that we're as good of friends as New Zealand, and the free trade agreement shows, as far as dairy is concerned, we are. This is the forerunner to major investments, and we've seen investments by such people as Gina Reinhardt, with prospective $500 million investment. People think that's a promise. They're actually buying the places now for that. It's actually happening. We're seeing that a whole range of people are now gearing up. Even in my own local area, I've had inquiries about the setting up of new processing factories in the Tamworth region. In the cattle, this hopefully is part of a mechanism to completely reduce our tariff to zero over 9 years, and in sheep meat over 8 years. And what this allows is a further upward pressure on the sale yard price. My whole goal in this ministry is to get a better price back through the farm gates for the mums and dads who for so long have worked harder than most in the production of the food and have got so little of the return. One of the first things I spoke about in the Green Paper was the proportion that goes back to the mums and dads at the kitchen table. In 1900, they got about 85%. By 1950, they were getting about 50% of the final retail price. Now they get between 10 and 15%. So we've got to make sure that we broaden the market base so that they can get a fairer market return. And this free trade agreement, with its exceptional increase possibilities in volume, allows us to do just that. I can see that this is working because it works in a symbiotic relationship. We are not putting out of business Chinese farmers. In fact, I've made it quite clear that I want Chinese farmers, like farmers anywhere, to get a fairer return, a better return, more dignity in their life, and I'm absolutely certain that that's the case. It also does not mean that Australian produce is going to swamp the world. That is not going to happen. So for beef, we've got an exceptional return. For dairy, we've got an exceptional return. We have the protocols in place for live cattle, which will also put great pressure, upward pressure, on the price in the yards and get a better return back. For horticulture, it is a great return so we can expand our agricultural base. Wine, the winemakers have been looking for an increase in the marketplace. They've been doing it tough, the winemakers in Australia, and we've got to do what we can to assist them to get a better return back through their farm gate. Now, I acknowledge that in the cotton industry, they haven't got what they want, but there's only a 1% tariff on cotton up to a trip point. So they're still, Cotton Australia have said that they're not underwhelmed by what's happened. They're looking forward to further production, and the falling dollar is of a great assistance to them. The sugar industry, I suppose, is one area where there is a form of disappointment. I acknowledge that. And we will continue to work hard to make sure we get a better outcome for the sugar producers. But we can't let the whole deal fall over because we haven't got a perfect deal. If we waited for that, then as you know, you will wait for nothing. You can go to the auction place and say, I want to sell my house for $1 million, and if the best bid you get is $800,000, then a lot of people would say, I'd take that, mate, because if you don't take that, what you might get is that you keep to own the house. So now it's part of putting this in place. It's making sure that the returns flow back through the farm gate, that we allow people the greater dignity in their lives from a better return. That becomes part of our objectives, or my objectives, to try and get the price of cattle in the yards up above $3 a kg live, to keep working towards a long-term objective of the price of dairy above 60 cents, of making sure that we get the price of wheat above $300, of making sure that we expand our horticultural capacity into these markets and we grow the returns that people can get there. Australia has also a major role to play in letting soft commodities alleviate some of the effects of a downturn in coal and iron ore. Soft commodities, which is your agricultural product, is never going to be the panacea. We're never going to be the cure-all of everything, but we certainly can carry our weight. But we've got to carry our weight, and it's not going to happen by accident. It's got to happen by planning It's going to happen by diligent work, and I'm very happy about where we've gone in agriculture over a little over a year. This has been a vast turnaround from where we were. The only final thing, the final part of the jigsaw puzzle, and no tariff and no wondrous speech in the chamber is going to fix this, is we need rain, and only the good Lord will look after that in the time he chooses. So once we get these together, I think we're moving agriculture down a very successful path, and by so doing, bringing more money into our nation to assist the people of Collins Street, to assist the people of Pitt Street, to assist the people of Blacktown and Ipswich, to assist the people of Geelong, because the money that comes into our nation is the money that spins around, is the money that gives us the standard of living that we all just think is our birthright. But it's not our birthright if we don't work extremely hard to preserve it.
Minister, the latest new poll has Labor pulling ahead, now 10-point lead, and this is the 14th consecutive poll that has the coalition behind. What is it that you're doing wrong? What's happening here? Is the message not getting through?
Well, you know, a lot of people say I don't watch the polls. Well, of course I do. I'm not a fool. And I watch the polls, but I just keep working diligently to try and show the Australian people that we are turning things around. A difference in government does make a difference. When you look at what's happened in the soft commodity market, and the fact that we've turned around the live cattle game, the live sheep game, we've got these free trade agreements going. For our part, I'm just going to do my work and work extremely hard, and I respect the Australian people. They will watch you, and if you're diligent and work hard, then you might get the great honour of a second term. I'm not for one moment saying I disregard the polls. I don't. I take it as a cue to work harder and make the message clearer. But in our defence, I think it would be a disaster if we went back to the former management arrangement that we had under the previous government. I really do. They're the ones that put us in this invidious debt position, something that I've been talking about since 2009. And if we go back to the people who put you in debt, then you can't expect anything more than to go further into debt. And if you go back to the people who closed the live cattle trade overnight, and you can see the sort of problems that causes in Southeast Asia. You would have seen that in the last couple of days, the sort of shot that sends over the bow and how it is absolutely disastrous in how our nation is perceived. But if you go back to the people who did it before, then don't be surprised if they do it again. And I want to see, if they're an alternate form of government, let's see their management critique. Let's see a definitive plan, an honest plan about how they will get the nation out of the debt that they got us into. But I'm not seeing that.
On the FTA, the opposition wants the full text released so that everyone can go through the nitty-gritty and exactly what's in there. When is that going to happen?
Well, that's a good question for the Minister for Trade. And I'm not going to. I have obviously details before me, and I commend Minister Rob. We've been in close discussions as this deal progressed, but I'm not going to steal his thunder. That's part of his role, and I'm sure that in due course you will see that. I know that he's been in close negotiations with the NFF and other peak bodies. They're very aware of all the bits and pieces that make up this FTA agreement. I don't think for one moment that President Xi Jinping is the sort of person who's going to welsh on a deal. And now he said it's going to happen. I can assure you it will happen.
Minister, when is the Register of Farmland ownership going to be rolled out? What's the delay on that?
Well, I'll refer to the Treasurer's comments there that he says it's imminent, that he says he'll be bringing it forward in very short order. And now that the FTA is out of the way, I think we have the opportunity to do precisely that.
Do you expect the opening up of the Chinese market have the inadvertent consequence that Australian consumers could pay higher food prices in the short term?
Well, I hear this, and it's a very valid concern, and I think thank you for the question because it needs to be addressed. And I'll start by saying this. In 1900, on the final retail price of a basket of goods, the farmer got 85% of that final retail price. By 1950, they were getting 50% of that final retail price. Now they get between 10 and 15%. So if the farmer is getting paid more at the farm gate, it's not actually going to make an awful lot of difference to what you pay at the supermarket, because the vast majority of the return of agricultural produce is not actually earned by the farmer. It's earned by all the people post the farm gate, the retailer, the processor. And so the questions about who's making the money should be directed evenly across that in the proportion that they get it. remembering that our sector, the agricultural sector, only gets about 10 to 15% of the final retail price. So I can see that there is, and I'm happy about the competition that's going to come into this marketplace. I'm happy that people are going to get a fairer price, and I don't necessarily believe that that's going to bring about a form of food inflation, because the vast majority of the return right now is not being made by the farmer, it's being made by the retailer and the processor.
Barnaby, as
How would it go down in the front bar in Armadale or in St George?
Yeah, well, that's well, it'll go down differently between 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. So, but let's try the 7 o'clock pub test, where basically people will say, "I'll believe it when I see it." When I drop off a load of cattle, I'm getting paid more. Then I'll commend you for it. And we've already done that in meat sheep. We've got a massive turnaround in the meat sheep price. We are getting a turnaround in the beef prices. People have been saying to me, especially in the live cattle game, they say, "We don't know what you've done, but you've absolutely turned the thing around, and we're getting better returns now." And I'm going to keep on trying to make sure that that's precisely what we do. This is building on the work we've done. I'm open. I'm not trying to hide behind everything. I've even given you targets today. I want to get the price of cattle in the sale yards above $3 a kilo. I want to get the price of dairy above 60 cents. I want to make sure that the price of grain, wheat, goes above $300. I want the price of cotton to go above $500 a bale. I've given myself targets, and I'm working towards those targets. I've been in the job about a year and a half.
Barnaby, do you think as a result of these deals that more farmers will be encouraged to stay on the land rather than sell it to foreign investment?
Well, one of the big things that people always ask is they say, I want my children, I want my daughters, my sons to come back on the land. How do we do that? And it's quite simple. You'd all know this equation. You show me the money and I'll give you the reason to come back on the land. And therefore, that's why I've always talked about a fairer return that goes through the farm gate, a better return through the farm gate. Because patriotism will take you thus far, and love of the land will take you thus far. But it won't take you all the way. What obviously takes you the rest of the way is Swanduli in the wallet. And if you just, rub the magic god of the skyrocket, you can do all sorts of wonderful things, including encouraging people to come back on the land. And we have to do that because we've got an ageing demographic in farmers. And we've got to make sure we're bringing new farmers and younger farmers through. And we must make sure that we clearly spell out a path of how they can start from nothing and become successful, because that's the Australian dream, to start from nothing and become successful, to start from nothing and to own your own house in a suburban street, to start from nothing and to own your own farm, to start from nothing and to build your own business. That's what makes politics interesting. That is the philosophy of politics. And sometimes that works against the drier theories, but believe you me, that's what people vote for.
Minister, how close are you to announcing the $100 million in reallocated drought line money?
Well, this has been agreed to by the Treasurer, it's been agreed to by the Finance Minister. It's already been through Cabinet, an approval limit of $700 million. I will be making sure that we progress this. I apologise for the delay.
What's holding it up?
Well, everything goes through a process in this wonderful world of bureaucracies where people want to make sure that all the boxes are ticked and all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. There can be delays. I apologise for it. We'll fix it up.
Minister, there were some NAP senators who were disappointed they were not consulted on the deal on direct action with the PUP and made their views known to Liberals and threatened to cross the floor during that day before it came on in the upper house. Do you have sympathy with their frustration? Do you understand their frustration, and does the government need to take into account the NAP's views when it negotiates with other crossbenchers?
Well, a coalition is a business partnership. It's a very successful business partnership. It's been the most successful business partnership in post-Second World War Australia. And yes, you do have to make sure you consult all people in making sure that everything is so that all people are at ease with what they're about to vote for. I commend the fact that Minister Hunt and Simon Birmingham went down and had a long consultative period with the National Party that night. That's the way business works around here. We wanted to make sure that when people walk into the chamber on the contentious issues, they're at ease with their vote. And it's just like I have to, it's the role of the Minister to make sure that you answer the questions that have been posed to you by your colleagues.
The last question, please.
India, there seemed to be a suggestion that a free trade deal with India is going to be sped up. What can you tell us about that?
Look, I had the honour of putting Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the plane I wanted him to get up the stairs before I asked him to turn around and come back down again. I think I hope so. I hope it progresses. It would obviously be of a great attribute to Australia to have the broadest possible marketplace, that we can get the best possible price for a premium product back through the farm gate to bring dignity to our farmers, to bring the sort of accoutrements of your life that you expect, your renovated kitchen, your new car. Let's make sure people on the land get that opportunity as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.